After leaving Rocky Mountain National Park, I headed to western Colorado along Highway 70. This route has one of the most amazing technical achievements in the area. The Eisenhower Tunnel is the highest vehicular tunnel in the world, with the westward half starting off at 11,158 feet. It's also very long, close to 3 kilometers, so I've speeded it up a little to keep it short and for the cool effect. After reaching Glenwood Springs, I got off Highway 70 and headed southeast on 82. Then at Carbondale, turned south on 133. After climbing the Mcclure Pass, I ended up at the Mcclure Campground in Gunnison National Forest. 14 days and no off-road vehicles was good news for me. And the bear warning didn't really bother me, but my favorite sign was this. There's about a dozen campsites tucked in amongst the aspens, and after a short scouting drive, I settled on site number 1. As gorgeous as the view was from Mcclure Pass, my travels would take me back down the hill and through a town called Marble. With a lot of difficulty, I finally found the sign I was looking for, the one that showed me the road to Crystal City. There is a beautiful little pond on the way, so tranquil it made me think this would be an easy trip. But then I came to Jeep Road. Having a Jeep made me feel I really fit in, but after a little while, I realized this wasn't much of a road. After 45 minutes, I finally arrived at Crystal City. Not really a city these days, but a quaint little hamlet of a few rustic old houses and a supply store. Not a ghost town, but rather a small but living piece of history. The supply store had lots of souvenirs and art, but when I inquired about cold drinks, they sent me across the street. No fridge needed here. A spring-fed bucket keeps everything nice and cold. The Crystal River is the life of the community, and without it, there would be no town. But tourists don't brave Jeep Road just to look at the river. They come for its star attraction, the Crystal Mill. Technically, it's not a mill at all, but a powerhouse. Built in 1892, it used a water turbine to run an air compressor for tools and local machinery. But let's face it, it's not the technical issues that draw people to visit, it's that it just looks absolutely spectacular. And for those few days in the fall, it's a living picture postcard. Beautiful. Scouting the forest along the river, I found another old relic which reminded me of the challenges of that awful road back. I didn't document it going in, But on the return, I set up my cameras. Nobody believed this road. I gotta hold onto the tripod because it's just insane. And this is the easy part. Had I known, I would not have abused my Jeep like this. Here comes the hard part. I fully recommend either renting an ATV or taking the Jeep tour. Both are a lot cheaper than a bent axle. Have any loose fillings? You won't after this road. Notice the beautiful fall colors? I was so relieved when the road got better and just had to pass through a stream. And speaking of streams, this is real stream water. Mountain clear. But back at campsite, I found another problem. One of the problems with dispersed camping in state parks is it can be a little bit confined and you can't always choose your neighbor. And my neighbor has a generator, a very loud generator, which he uses 4 hours during the day and 4 hours at night. Not only that, there's only one pit toilet and he goes there to smoke. All I'm saying is, when you're out in a place like this, you gotta consider others and follow a little bit of camp etiquette. When you're not paying and there's no host, this is what you've got to put up with sometime. It's just life on the road. But it wasn't all doom and gloom, as another neighbor was very polite, friendly, and just happened to own an A-frame. This is a brand new 2018 Flagstaff off on its first trip in the woods. Those practical dome windows even left room for solar panels on the roof. With all those features, my 2004 A-liner really paled in comparison. Inside it was far more roomier than expected, with large windows, a big fridge, stove, and even a microwave. I was very grateful to Shelley and Steve for the tour and wished them all best in their new travel experience. Shelley even posed for a picture with old Slim Potatohead. That night a new crescent moon glowed on the horizon with Venus at its side. Every time I see the skies transform from day to dusk and finally to a glimmering starlit night, I'm always left in awe at the magic of the universe. But in the morning, I had this scary feeling I was being watched. In these parts, the hills do have eyes. Every direction I looked, the trees were looking back at me. Prying eyes, curious eyes, and there was even some with tears in their eyes. But in fact, I was being watched, as those who live in the forest are constantly aware of me. But all those critters had work to do, so it was time for me to give the forest back to nature. As I headed further south down Highway 550, I was quite aware of the steep mountains approaching on the horizon. I passed through the quaint little town of Ouray. Less than 1,000 people call it home, but it was obviously a big hit for tourists. I wish I had time to explore it, its falls and its canyons, but this trip I was just passing through. The only thing that was on my mind was the pass ahead of me, the Red Mountain Pass. Okay, so I'm climbing. This ascent is making me a little nervous after what happened at Bighorn, but I'm going to take it slow. I mean, this is a very high elevation. I think the peak, the pass itself is around 11,000 feet. So yeah, I'm a little nervous, but I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to take breaks, and if I see the engine overheating, I'm going to turn the heat on, and hopefully that keeps it cool. Well, the trailer made it! 11,018 feet, and it didn't overheat. I did it. Climbing the pass was easier because it was more gradual. And the reward was the spectacular array of colors on each side. Well, I made it over the pass. And it's raining. Which is great because I haven't seen rain in a long time. It's been hot. It's nice and cool here. And so ends the fall colors part of my journey. I know, however, other adventures await as I cross the US in search of beautiful places to camp and explore. I truly hope you'll continue to explore along with me. But I'll leave you with the soothing sounds of the Crystal River.